Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I have with me a very successful professional from Bangalore, Preet Duper. Preet, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
Preet is currently the Chief Financial Officer of IKEA India. She has worked with Becton Dickinson, then with Caltex, which had a JV with IBP. She's worked with BBC Global News, Tata Donnelly, and KPMG. She has been associated with Childline and Enactus. She articled with SP Bilimoria, which is now Deloitte. And interestingly, she's a very active fundraiser and has been awarded several times. So, Preet, tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your career or your life?
I think three key milestones, and for me, the first one actually is the fact that when I was starting to do my CA and I chose to do CA, there was this question of, where do you do your articles? And I, was joined SP Bilimoria, actually with a lot of great resistance from my family. And resistance came because, after 21 years of protected life, at home in a very protected environment, you suddenly stepped into, Delhi, so Aruna Asaf Ali Road, the first, Voltas audit, and you were spending, from, I think the first day I was allowed to go home at 7 o'clock saying it's your first day. Okay. And all the other days were till, 10 o'clock every night. So you suddenly went from, that environment to working very long hours, at work, people at home not being aware of your whereabouts. This is not the time of mobile phones, But I have to say I persisted, and that to me gave me the professional grounding and set the right base, to develop my work ethic, to look at certain values, which I think is really critical right at the start of your career. I think that gave me the great base that, that I needed. Then I would also say my stint in the BBC. My role in the BBC, I worked with the BBC for 14 years. That's a very long time. And my role in the BBC started out being finance manager of one division, and then it expanded over a period of time, to multiple divisions. So I got exposure of news, non-news, entertainment sector, as well with an organization like BBC Media Action. Also, my role was wider than finance. So by the time I left there, I was the chief operating officer for the news, business, the commercial, and I was working majorly on the commercial side of business. And so I think it gave me a huge amount of exposure. Entertainment at that point of time was also a new industry, right? A lot of stakeholder work, a lot of working with the government on policy formulation.
Right.
The downlinking policy got introduced at that point of time. We were still, and I don't think that is still allowed. News on FM was not allowed. So also a lot of engagement with the government, a lot of policy formulation, industry associations. I think it gave me a much wider exposure than you would get in a typical, finance role. So contributed a lot to my overall development. And I think my stint in the BBC, also in Becton Dickinson, actually set almost like the base for future career options to say, right. I want to work for an organization that has a purpose that I believe in. And that became very important to me. So huge amount of respect. I think for all the organizations I've worked in, we used to have, I don't know what their vision statement is now, but to help people lead, healthier lives or something. And those sound like lofty statements, but there's a lot of work that goes beneath those statements. They're not, you worked with companies like that yourself, so you know that these are not empty statements or empty claims. Yeah. So again, huge respect for the way the BBC operated and its values and its strategic purpose that it stands for. Then of course IKEA, and that is the best combination I think I could find when I wanted to branch out, do something different of both us, I think a new brand in the market, so the combination of a startup and a well-known large organization, as well as a combination of an organization that believes in growth, but it also believes in being, planet positive. There is a purpose, behind the business, which is very strong and very strongly led as well. So couldn't have found myself, in a better place. And the last 6 years in IKEA have been tremendous learning, and I
Amazing.
do every single minute that I've spent here.
Fantastic. Preet, let's talk about IKEA. You
Yeah.
know, your first store generated incredible nationwide attention. What are the challenges you face as such a highly global brand? The Indians are looking for some incredible aspirations from the brand, and I know I saw there were mile-long queues in Hyderabad. What are the challenges you face in meeting aspirations of people?
So as you said, so Hyderabad opened, just this week in 2018, right? And I don't think we sit with challenges in meeting the aspirations of people, because I think we spend, or IKEA spends a lot of time in understanding life at home in the key markets, and we did that, a lot of that, in India. We did thousands of home visits, and we continue to do that, right? To understand what are people's needs, what are people's dreams, what are people's aspirations, and then how can we step in with, products and solutions and services. So I think that is the starting point for every IKEA product, that is designed. So, and then we work with the supply chain to ensure that we have, the relevant products, for the market. Having said that, the expectations from obviously a large brand like us are huge. We believe that we have, the right products and solutions. So when we come to, I don't know if you've read in the news that we are opening Mumbai. Yeah, and I think by the time, I don't know whether by the time this broadcasts, where will we be, but we are opening the Navi Mumbai store on the 18th of
Okay.
Yes. And if you visit the Navi Mumbai store, you will also see that the solutions, the way the room sets are designed, the way the solutions are represented there, the kind of products that are represented there will be different from what is there in Hyderabad. And it's because it reflects the life of people in Mumbai, and the Hyderabad store will reflect the life of people in Hyderabad. So I think from that perspective, one, that we have the products and solutions. Second, that we continue to develop. Okay. Then the other aspect, of course, is that people want us to be everywhere, right? And maybe when we talk a bit more about expansion, then it will take us a bit of time to expand, across the market. So the most often asked question of IKEA is, when are you opening, in this city, and when will you be available, in X, Y, Z?
In fact, when I read that you're going to be opening in Noida, my first reaction is, why Noida? Why not Gurgaon?
We are opening in Gurgaon as well.
Okay, that's
We have land in Gurgaon as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So then I think it will take us time as well to raise the awareness of who are we as a brand. I think an interesting anecdote I'd like to share when we opened Hyderabad is that, obviously people were not aware of what is IKEA. There isn't really, I think, anything of the size and scale and range that an IKEA offers, on roof, that is, available in the country today. So when people went into the store, there was a lot of curiosity about what is it here. And if you've been to IKEA yourself, one of the first few room sets is where people were, and then we had to kind of support people to move forward, to sort of say, there's a huge store, sitting in front. And those are also learnings that we have taken to say we need to, we as well have, Mumbai, raising the awareness of what an IKEA store looks like is going to be also part of our communication, therefore, to the customer. So we make it easier for people to understand us.
Wonderful.
It will take time for that knowledge to get built once our presence increases across the country.
Fantastic. And as you scale up, what are some of the challenges?
So I think I'd like to say that IKEA is a long-term investor in the market, and it believes in doing things in the right way, setting the foundation, and maybe that takes us a little longer. So I think time is kind of, is the challenge. A lot of times people say, what are you doing and why are you not in this market? But if you understand from a physical expansion perspective, then the size of our stores, even when we are doing different formats, because we are now also evolving as an organization globally, and we want to be where the many people are. So, we are doing different formats. There are large format, small stores, small format stores. And but even then, the size of our smaller stores is also bigger than, the average retail size of the market. And then we come with certain requirements on, safety and security, safety norms and, what is called the I-Way when we deal with suppliers. And therefore it takes us time. And land acquisition itself is a very long process. Sometimes the land acquisition itself takes a long time. Our principle is that we buy land and construct our own stores.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will always be a combination of places where we buy land, but we also lease. So we will do both. So time, as I said, it takes us time to therefore expand in the market. And obviously, omni-channel is the solution. I mean, that is why IKEA is online as well, even today, in the markets that we exist in. And that's what we want to do. So we want to go to a market with the entire platform of combination of store, online, and be able to offer services and solutions, because you also know that we are, a DIY company. You don't get a chair, you get it in components, and
Right.
you either do the assembly or, of course, we support with assembly. But I also have to say that IKEA, the way India picks up on DIY is also incredible. I think, and I've always said that Indians are actually very, very quick to adapt, to new solutions. So I think the whole concept of DIY will also pick up in India.
Absolutely. No, it has to. It has to. So, let me now move to some more questions, and these are for you more. You've been a CFO for such a long time and such large companies, and, you had such an amazing career. My question to you is, what are some of the important qualities a CFO should have?
I think as a CFO, you have to think like a CEO.
Okay.
And I genuinely say that. I'm not saying it, for the sake.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
You have to have the mindset of a CEO. Okay.
Correct.
And trust me, as a CFO, you also feel the responsibility, of a CEO. So you have to understand the business. You have to understand the key drivers. You have to understand the risks and opportunities, competition, and all of that. So you can't just be focused on numbers are a result of what you're doing in the business. Yeah. Sometimes we kind of start from the other end, and I think that is wrong. Numbers are a result of what you do in the business, and therefore focus first on what are we doing in the business. Focus on the customer. So yeah. So therefore, for me, a CFO role is actually a very interesting role, because it's business as well as numbers, and you have to support growth. You have to support innovation, and ensure that the business moves in the right strategic direction. And at the same time, the responsibilities maybe that some of the other people don't have in the organization also you sit with, because you sit with responsibility to ensure that there is the right governance setup, that is, the right risk-based decision-making setup, different levels of assurance, financial control. So that foundation is very key. And Ashutosh, here I do want to say something, and this is also aimed towards the, finance community. It is, if I may use the word, it is sexy to work on the strategic side, right? But if you don't get your base right,
Correct.
yeah, you will not succeed.
Absolutely.
So I think the focus has to be equal on both. And sometimes, we can get focused on one or the other, but we have to find the balance to focus on both the areas.
Absolutely. No, CFO is a very critical role. And I've often said, that CFO should think like a CEO and yet provide the checks and balances to the, to the organization and the CEO.
Yeah.
In a diplomatic manner. So
be prepared to operate like supermen and superwomen.
Wonderful. So tell me now, you must be leading large teams. My question to you is, what is Preet's leadership style?
I should ask my teams that question.
No, I know, but what is your thought?
I did ask, before I came on, and I would say that I am a democratic leader. I think I listen to people. I take people's views into account. I also take facts into, you have to take fact-based decisions,
Okay.
But I also think I have the right balance between a strategic mindset and the ability to drill down into details. I've always said that, to say you need to be strategic, yet roll up your sleeves and get down to work, if that is what is needed. So I think that's generally my leadership style. I think I'm also very demanding. I am creative as an individual as well. I've been an amateur theatre artist, as well, and maybe a little lack of patience, which basically means that there is a drive for doing things fast. There is a drive for speed and accuracy, and that's a good, balance. So sometimes I can come across as being very demanding, to my own people. But that's maybe because I say that I set high standards for myself, and therefore I get the same, from people around me, and I can also come across as impatient. I'm otherwise two other things, maybe very straightforward person, candid, and that's also my expectation. Therefore, from people around me, and I would also say I'm actually fairly perceptive. I can read a lot of what's going on between the lines. I may not always say things, but yeah, don't take kindness for being for being a fool.
Okay. What is the right word? An iron fist in a velvet glove?
Yeah, maybe.
Right. Okay, good. So, Preet, let's talk a little bit now on another subject, which is on gender diversity.
Sure.
And we have been talking about gender diversity in our country in the last 5, 7, 8, 10 years. In the Western world, it's of course much, much more acceptable. And in the region where IKEA comes from, it is probably the first set of Scandinavian countries, the first to bring this in. What are your thoughts on how we can correct or improve, correct maybe the wrong word, the gender diversity in a country, in the corporate world?
That's an interesting question, Ashutosh, because if I speak from personal experience, I have to say that, and then maybe it's the fact that I've had the privilege to work in the organizations that I've worked. I've not really faced, except once in a while, I've really not faced challenges at work. Right? I believe challenges exist much more in the society. The challenges exist in our homes. The challenges exist in our families. Much more than they exist at work, especially if we talk of large multinational, international organizations, or already from a business mindset perspective, actually very clued into diversity, gender diversity, right? Having said that, of course, when I say mindset change, I think the first change is the mindset change, and that mindset change we need to then work in also our personal environments to bring about that mindset change.
Right.
So if for example, today you are the CEO of an organization, right? You may be saying the right things in your company, but are you really doing the right things in your personal life, at home, amongst your friends? Is your family actually calling out to you if sorry, I'm not directing this at you, but is your family actually
I'm with you.
calling out behaviors where you're demonstrating a gender bias? Or, so I think the change needs to happen. A wider change will come from society.
Okay.
And then, of course, corporates need to step in with their bit. And here, if I talk about when we started out here, saying we will pick up on gender as an aspect of diversity. So diversity also has many aspects, right? Say we started in IKEA saying we're going to focus on gender, and we're going to hire 50-50 men, women across all levels. That was not an easy task, and people said to us that this cannot work, but I have to give credit to the HR leadership in the team who persisted, who would not let us hire. So even people like me who want to hire women, sometimes you're just not getting the right candidate, because I think the other mindset that I'd really like to move people away from, and I hate it when people actually come and tell you, headhunters will come and tell you, oh, we have a diversity candidate. I'm sorry, I don't understand that word. Right? I'm looking for the right candidate for this job.
Right.
Now, whether that's a man or a woman, is then a different thing. Persist to say, no, I will find the right woman for the job. It's a lot of time, patience. Also, then for an organization to sort of say, I am going to persist with this. IKEA really did that. I think so. So we are well on our way to 50-50, very close to 50-50.
Wonderful.
And we'll continue to remain on that. So I would encourage all of us as leaders, man or woman, to actually call out gender bias in society and in our personal environments, much more than we probably do.
Well said. So, Preet, I've got time for 2 or 3 questions for you personally now.
Sure.
My first question is that, such an amazing career so far and such a great, future ahead. What does success mean to Preet?
Okay. Success to me actually means making a tangible difference to where I'm working. Yeah.
Okay.
That is what success means to me. A tangible difference, and it doesn't come alone. No sole person is responsible for any large change that you can make. But if you're actually sitting as a driver of that change, or you're able to move the organization to probably do things in a certain manner. That is so. Leaving an impact, leaving a legacy is what success means to me. And if I give the example, say, about a year ago, I also took on the additional responsibility for sustainability within my organization. Yeah, and a lot of people kind of ask me the question, as you're CFO and also responsible for sustainability. Well, yes, and I think that also gives me the ability to actually drive the topic in a much stronger manner, allocate resources for that topic. Where resources need to be allocated. So what I'd really like to do is actually ensure we've set sustainability for IKEA in India on the right track, and that will be success to me.
Okay, fantastic. And the follow-up question to that would be that where do you get your inspiration from?
Always my father.
Okay.
And I lost my dad a few years ago now, but
Yeah.
my values, I always say, everything good about me is him, and anything bad I've developed, over the years.
Okay.
But his ethic, he a very, very value-based person, also very spiritual person, huge amount of work ethic, never give up attitude or try anything new, so all of that, he even learning, to say he, at the age of, after retirement, he actually picked up, because that was his passion, he started to learn classical music. So, lifelong learning, everything is a learning, life is an experiment. So he kind of really taught me all of that. And, we talk about gender diversity. I have seen my father's support at home. I've learned cooking from him.
Amazing.
So this whole aspect of challenge the society. So he will be my forever on, inspiration. Again, I don't, because I work in IKEA, but if I also talk about Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of, IKEA, what an organization, he has created, if you look at it. And when I joined IKEA, I was given and it's available on the internet as well, for anyone who's actually watching this, called The Testament of a Furniture Dealer, right? And that to me is life lessons. I mean, I read that book and I swear I did not even negotiate for salary or anything like that. I was sold. I said, I'm going to join this organization.
Fantastic.
I was given to it as part of my, interview process. And it just resonated so well with me in terms of, what he spoke about, being entrepreneurial, being cost conscious, being value based, putting the customer at the heart of everything, being planet and people positive. And that's what IKEA is today. So I think those two people would remain my source of inspiration.
Fantastic. And my last question to you, thousands of people are going to watch our interview and they will listen to you speak on your podcasts. What would your advice be to a young individual starting off on their career in the corporate world?
So let me say, first of all, I think, a lot of people say, find, have the passion, find your passion and, work in that area. But I'd like to balance that out a bit. So very good if you're able to, also have the ability and the privilege to find your passion and work with it. But normally it's maybe not that easy at the start of your career. But then whatever you do, choose to do, whatever you end up doing, just do your best. I think that would be my first advice. Half-hearted work does not get you anywhere.
Correct.
If you don't bring your entire self at work, then I'm sorry, don't work.
Agree.
Find something else to do. That would be my first advice. The second one would be, all of us go through a lot of challenges and tough times, and don't get disheartened. Take the and move on. Sometimes challenges do bring out the best in us. Don't let it get you down. Find your support networks, within or outside the organization. I would also say support people around you. Try to be kind. Try not to judge. We have no clue what's going on in anyone's life, right? And we spend a majority of our time at work. So let's make that workplace, a safe place where people feel supported. Yeah. And other than that, I will always say to any young people, and I think the young people do that. Be bold for change, take risks, and be bold for change in business, in society, in your personal lives. Disruption is what drives development. So don't be afraid to ask uncomfortable questions
Fantastic.
and stand up for what you believe in.
Fantastic. Preet, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you lots and lots of success.
Thank you very much, Ashutosh. Pleasure talking to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for The Brand Called You.